How's it going, everybody? This is Dustin with Team Conti Sim Performance with the track tutorial for Kentucky. We'll get right into it. Kentucky, presents its own challenges. It's a track where, you've got a typical intermediate feel into 1 and 2, and then a shorter, tighter corner, tighter radius feel in 3 and 4. You guys will have to forgive my voice here. I've been dealing with the allergies and trying to keep the volume mixed here, so you can hear inputs, motor, and me. But the raspiness and whatnot, even some of these laps, just dealing with some allergies. So bear with me. Trying to think of how to really attack the explanation on racing here. Again, 1 and 2, you can be wide open to start a run. You'll pay for it later. Into 3, you have to back it up and to make that corner. The line that I choose to run here is a little more arcing into 1 and then a little flatter into 3. Three is interesting because it feels like it's the tightest, and then it kind of opens up out of 4. So kind of apex that corner in 3 and then just drive it out of 4 up the hill, off the banking, and you can do that without scrubbing much speed from about center of 3 and 4 off. 1 and 2 just tight to the line. There's a little additional grip right down there on the paint, but you got to be careful not to clip the apron. You'll see I do that a couple times later on in this video. Still got issues with that throttle pedal. So you see into 1 and 2, just rolling out partial throttle. Just trying to keep the rear tires rooted, not slide them at all. Anything that might spike temperature. That was a moment where I couldn't see anything. The eyes were all watery. Next couple laps, getting it together. But that is an improvement. That's the only wall contact in 30 lap run for me, so that's pretty good. Jokes, of course. Some of the markers that I would use if I were a marker guy is into 1, there's a white sign on the wall, and you want to be kind of rolling out of the throttle and turning in at that point. You see it up there. So just before that, there's a black sign just before that that can work as that marker too. Kind of between those two is the ideal spot. And here, the red sign and white sign, really should be rolling out of the throttle at about that white sign. In years past, the middle in 3 and 4 kind of came in, so keep that in mind. So I took a real flat entry there, just trying something out, and I mean it was just harder to hold the bottom longer. Um, but you see the lap time didn't really show a big sacrifice to it. It was just kind of standard normal fall off, I think 700ths. So that's that middle line I was talking about. At this point in the run, it's too early for that, and then also I do go back to it later in this run, as you'll see. It was slower again, running that second line through 3 and 4. Again, I think the difference is when you get more trucks on the track, rubbering that in, that's when that second lane um, can be faster. Track tip's quite a bit higher this time around, so um, you know, it might not be the same thing. It might be more so. I do try the top later in the run as well, the third lane up, and it wasn't good. So it's going to be kind of a run the bottom, generate runs. And work to clear passes. Back to the markers. Again, between the black and white sign 9 to 1. It's a good spot to roll out and turn in. Both ends of the track, you see this tar strip. That's kind of where you're looking at working toward getting back to full throttle. Later in the run, it becomes a little more difficult over here in 3 and 4 to do that, as the rear tires start to fatigue and whatnot. You can abuse them pretty easily and get free exit. That was a pretty good 1 and 2 there. It's a little more arcing into 3 that time around. What's that, 14? So as the rears start to give out, as they start getting worn, the idea is to keep the truck as straight as possible while still maintaining rotation. You'll see out of 4, I'll start walking the truck up, just walk it up to the wall, let the rear kind of decide where the front goes. Just keep the fronts in front of the rears, and yeah, you can manage it that way and still be pretty aggressive with the throttle. Probably more than I have been in this run. If you set it on the right rear too much, though, it will increase that wear, accelerate that loss of rear grip. Got a few laps coming up here again where I couldn't see anything. My eyes were so watery, so again, I apologize for that. There's the second lane through 3 and 4 again. 37 the lap before to a 53 that lap. So obviously not a very good one. I chose to run the top here because I'm still trying to get rid of the sneezes and the watery eyes. So my conclusion on that line, through 1 and 2, it might hold up to defend or generate a run. Through 3 and 4, that was just entirely too much track. You need to be, I'd say, first or second lane. And there's an example of what the apron will do to you. We get it back together here. Your lap times at this point of the run should probably be 5s, 6s. Really start to hear the rear tires there. Yeah, there we go, back to a 6. Underdrove entry and then was oversteering to the apron there. So you want to make sure you carry enough momentum to keep your arc or trajectory. So as you can see, I'm just using up the track on exit of 4. That last lap out of 2, I got a little behind on it, let it drift a little too much too early. Got a little apron there. May have noticed that lap into 3, I drug a little brake to get that nose pointed back to the bottom. That helped versus the previous lap. A little more arc into 1 to be a little straighter on exit. Later apex into, well, we're in 1 and 2. Underdrove again into 1. Ended up clipping a little bit of apron. It's tricky because you really want to be at that, down there on that that paint, both ends really. But 1 and 2, where you're holding that line longer, that's, I'd say especially over there, you want to be down on that paint, and that apron will just reach out and grab you. So anyway, there's a 30 lap run. Tires were 67, 64 with these temps. Great balance there. Typically we're 10 to 15 degrees hotter on the right front to get this kind of similar wear. And I think in a pack that may be the case with dirty air. It might still get there. So that's what I'm aiming for. Otherwise, Kentucky usually races it's typically pack racing for the first 10, 15, 20 laps, and then you start to get some separation. Those who can manage those tires and maintain the pack through the phase where it is everybody together are going to be better off after 20. So keep that in mind. Try not to get caught up in senseless battles in the first 15 to 20 laps of a run. But also, if you see, you're in a second pack and it's starting to separate, these trucks are so bogged down. Every little bit helps. Even a draft with these with the slower speeds and the low RPM that it's turning here. It's all about momentum. So do what you can to maintain that. A good mid entry into 1, a pretty, I'd say, lower than mid entry into 3, and really good throttle control. Maintain your roll speed without shearing off your right front tire, and roll into the throttle exit, even over on 1 and 2 where you could be wide open for the first 4 or 5 laps. Definitely will pay to lift early there and let the draft just kind of keep you where you are. Bringing those tires up slower in terms of temperature seem to be a very big key element to tire preservation in iRacing these days. So this is one of those tracks where you'll really see that. But anyway, that's all I've got for this week. We appreciate you guys choosing us. Good luck,